Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Hagbard Celine here on a beautiful Saturday. I do apologize for being late on this video. Just to make up for it, I'm going to do a twofer. I may have to link it to my alternate channel, and if that's the case, then so be it. I do hope everyone gets over to that one for my longer videos, and obviously the long Pacific sinking of the Pacific Ocean liners are going to have to be there. This is Brett Keane, though. Brett Keane is an ex-YouTube atheist turned God believer, and now I guess he's full-out Christian. It should be kind of entertaining, so here we go. He's going to refute atheism. Fun times. Oh god, I forgot about his overly dramatic intro. Let's fast forward right the fuck through this, shall we?
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brett Keane from God TV Radio. Make sure you check out my gaming channel, Games You Love.
If you actually love games, I definitely do not advise you go over there because he is as dull as dishwater and he plays some of the crappiest older games in the world.
And when you get an opportunity, check out Brett Keane Superstar as well as God TV Radio International. All links can be found in the description of every video that I have.
So you're just a complete attention whore then? You're just pretty much throwing it out there shotgun style to see what sticks, huh?
Also, make sure you check out our website, godtvradio.com, where you'll find exclusive content as well as live access to our shows.
That just sounds entirely too interesting, and I just can't wait.
Well, I have decided to create a series in which I answer your questions as a non-believer. A lot of people send me messages as well as through Skype, as well as call me on the phone. You are more than welcome to text me as well. I have the ability to see it. If the questions are serious, relevant, important, then I will try my best to answer.
What he really means there is that if you come at Brett Keane cap in hand and are willing to essentially negotiate reason for faith, then he will gladly have a quote-unquote discussion or debate with you. As it were, I refuse to have serious debates with anyone who decides that quoting scripture or your fifis are a way to defend your religious beliefs.
The first question I've got here is, how do you reconcile your Christianity and a belief in evolution? Well, I myself, Brett Keane, I don't believe that evolution is true.
Okay, well in that statement I suppose we can establish that you're an idiot and you ignore about a century and a half worth of scientific data and fossil evidence.
I believe that evolution is big business. I believe that a lot of scientists make a great deal of money off of many theories that have been debunked throughout history.
And with this statement, we can fairly well establish that you have no idea how academia works, and that the books that are published about evolution have a tendency to either be technical manuals for other evolutionary biologists or actually guides for people like you. People who could probably use it. You know, have you ever seen the book, How Dinosaurs Became Birds? It might interest you, Brett.
One of those is the primordial soup theory, an 80-year-old theory that has been debunked for 80 to 90 years now that atheists are still using in their videos when describing abiogenesis.
Well, I actually feel sorry for those YouTube atheists because the quote-unquote primordial goop theory is indeed been debunked, but we no longer even attempt to discuss abiogenesis. It's really not worth attempting to discover at this point. It's irrelevant. Your argument is that an 80-year-old theory is the only grounds we have to go on that evolution exists. Evolution doesn't explain the origins of life. It explains the speciation of our current existing life. Define your terms properly, Brett.
Evolution to me is ridiculous. If you would like more specific reasons why I don't believe in evolution, fine. So there is no reconciling evolution with Christianity. For those out there who believe that evolution is true, you are stating that the book of Genesis and the creation account is wrong.
Why, yes, Brett. Yes, we are stating that Genesis is wrong. I thought that would be easy to come to. I mean, the whole Adam and Eve story is kind of strange, don't you think? I mean, woman from rib, man from dust doesn't bother you?
You are stating that the explanation given in the book of Genesis for how God created man from the materials of the earth, and already with a reproductive system and functioning sentience and awareness, did not exist.
Well, of course we are, because your explanation doesn't make any goddamn sense, whereas science actually can be followed from A to B to C. You're just saying, I read a book once that said God made man from dust. I mean, that's your evidence, Brett.
You're stating that man came from chemicals and evolved and hopscotched through many different species out there, which is not what the story of Genesis states.
Does your story explain why the vast majority of people on the planet, including most East Asians, have Neanderthal blood? I mean, does that not hit your radar, Brett?
So you have to choose if you're going to accept a science that doesn't have any observable evidence to it, or any real facts, evidence, or transitional fossils to back it up.
Doesn't it? Then what exactly are we looking at as I speak here? You say there are no transitional fossils to be had. There are a lot of transitory fossils to be seen. The fact that you people insist that because I can't turn a goat into a fish in 3 generations means evolution is false as well. Deeply, deeply flawed understanding of evolution. You guys are backwards. You've always been backwards. It's just becoming more and more apparent as science advances further and further. Once upon a time, you were the bastions of learning. Once upon a time, monasteries actually had scholars. Now we have you.
Alright, the next question. How can an all-loving God allow for so much hatred and violence in the world? Let's pretend for a moment that we lived in a universe without God.
Yeah, let's just pretend that.
Would man be any different? Would there still be hatred, violence, and killing? Atheists would like to ask the question all the time, what would the universe be like without a God? Would it be any different? No, it would not.
Brett, you do see that's exactly our point, right? That there is no functioning or applicable God. There's no evidence for God. You do see that, right? And before you go there, no atheist believes in a godless utopia. There will always be shitty human beings.
The only difference is, which is a very powerful one, that if there is a God, there is justice in the end. There is an ultimate justice.
Well, at least you're willing to admit here that you just want there to be justice. You just want this to be the case. It doesn't necessarily need to be. It doesn't need to be implied on evidence. It's just you want there to be justice. I mean, it's an understandable feeling, but it's not true. It's unfortunate, but that's just not true.
In the atheist worldview, if a little girl were to get kidnapped, mutilated, raped, used like a toilet, in the atheist worldview, there will be no justice for her. If a person buried her off into a desert and the cops never find her, then nothing will ever be done about what has happened to her or millions of other people who have suffered.
First, what the fuck is going on in your brain, Brett, that's the kind of thing you think of on a fairly regular basis? That's the example you come up with? You come up with the most base and disturbed example humanly possible? And second, why would a good God let that happen in the first place? Brett, why would a good God let a young girl be kidnapped, mutilated, raped, used as a toilet, your words, killed and then dumped into the fucking desert? Why would a good God allow that, Brett?
If you were a victim of the Torquemada in the Inquisition, and you were tortured and you were murdered, Torquemada ended up living a wonderful, happy life all the way to his death.
Which he took as a sign that he was doing God's work, Brett. That man was doing the work of the God that you're currently arguing in favor for. Do you realize that, Brett?
Dying of old age. If you are one of those victims, then you will never find any justice for what had happened to you.
Brett, those victims didn't find justice and they were killed in the name of your God. You must know this. You guys did that.
In a universe with God, if you have been hurt, if you have suffered, if you've went through pain, then one day you will join your family and your loved ones in the end. But from the atheist worldview, from the moment you are born to the moment you die, you are absolutely nothing. You're just simply a moment, an experience, a chemical stimulated by your environment, determined by the outcome of the variables, and then you will die, you will become nothing, and everything that you hold sacred and care about will not exist with you as the universe grows cold and dies.
It is very refreshing to see a Christian willing to admit that the reason he is a Christian is because life is scary. Life is scary and random, and the variables are just terrifying. So instead, I'm just going to believe that all things will be right with the universe in the end. I will get to see my people again. I will be happy. There is a better world out there. You're just admitting that that's just what you have to believe. That's what this video appears to be, is you admitting that you simply cannot handle reality. You simply cannot handle that life is a beautiful, confusing thing, and that we'll never just know all the answers. I'm content to let the spiritual world sort itself out if it even exists. I'm just content living my life not thinking about torturing little girls or obsessing on the Inquisition, although that doesn't appear to be something you're real good at.
The next question. What would you tell someone who is trying to figure out their beliefs? Continue to seek truth, and you'll find it.
And then you won't be a religious person anymore.
If you seek evil, you'll find it as well. Next question.
Well, that was a wannabe sage-like non-answer, Brett. That didn't offer any advice whatsoever. That was just you randomly moralizing.
The person says they do not believe in God.
No, Brett, that's a simple typo. She meant if one does not believe in God. You see.
Or gods, how can they be angry with him or her? Not saying atheists are mad at God, but some people, for various reasons. What would you say to them through that? Well, there are a lot of people out there, anti-theists, make it clear that they believe in a God. They're just pissed off at him. They're angry because they don't feel like life went the way they expected it to.
Again, your strawmans are cute, but they're poorly assembled. Most anti-theists aren't anti-God, they're anti-religion. They know there is no God. They've already come to that. That's the step beyond atheism, which is, okay, there's no God. The next step is, hey, stop bothering me about your stupid God. That's the next step of an atheist, and that's when he becomes an anti-theist. Stop bothering me with your shitty, stupid God.
There is nowhere in the Bible where it says that God is going to make things fair or wonderful for you. It says in the Bible very clear that it rains on the just as well as the unjust. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are. The reason why there's so much pain and suffering and hatred in this world is because men choose to do so. There's not very many peacekeepers in this world. There's a lot of capitalists, a lot of people out there who have this idea that they are going to take what they want and they don't care who they step on in order to get up the ladder. There are politicians who will lie to our face in order to get high authoritative positions.
And yet, for some reason, the Christian bloc still votes like a motherfucker. For some reason, the Christian bloc still makes the president stand up and say that they believe in God before they can become a president. And you see nothing wrong with that, Brett? And you seem to have gone off on a bit of a tangent here. This isn't really related to spirituality or God. You've kind of just gone into explaining that anything bad that happens is people's fault and anything good that happens is potentially God's fault. Otherwise, we've slipped into the realm of either a spiritual being that wants to help but can't, or a spiritual being that can help but chooses to let us suffer. Either way, I'm not worshiping that sack of shit.
And then when they get there, they won't keep their promises. They will simply take the money that is given to them by their campaign and those who have money to fill their pockets. That is the reason why our system and our government and everything that we know of that has any kind of corporation behind it is corrupt and disgusting, horrible, vile.
Well, now how do you explain all of the corruption, disgusting, and horrible, vile things that supposedly religious people do who have no profit motive in theory? How do you explain the Duggars? How do you explain pedophile priests? How do you explain whole institutions that oppress homosexuality and all sorts of other things that are just normal human behavior? How do you explain that, Brett?
If you want to know what the actual truth is when you're listening to a liar, then simply play their words backwards, and then you will know the truth.
Well, that's certainly an interesting proposition, Brett. I never quite heard it put like that, but okay.
Let's see what the next question is. Well, that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen.
In that case, let's transition immediately to take two.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Keane from God TV Radio.
Yeah, again, fuck this.
That will tickle your butthole. All right.
Well, that was an interesting cut to land on, wasn't it?
So we've got some questions here. The first question is from Tommy from the Bronx. He says, Brett, no offense, but you totally sound more convincing when you are an atheist than a Christian. Okay, here's my question. Before we get into that, I want to respond to his statement. You're used to me being a non-believer for several years, so of course it's going to be odd for you and unusual to hear me as a God believer. I'm sure many people, whenever they watched my anti-theistic type of hardcore atheist videos a while back, they never suspected that if there were to be a God, he'd come knocking on my door. So I get it. I understand why you feel that way.
He may also feel that way because arguing from an atheistic point of view actually requires that one makes sense, whereas your current arguments and the arguments that I've been watching in your last few videos have been so ass-fucking backwards that it's offensive to reason.
Okay, so you ask, what made you switch to Christianity? I'm sure you have a video somewhere about it, but I've been away from YT a long time. Actually, another question, do you believe in ghosts and aliens? I guess I'll start with the first question on what changed me. As you know, Tommy, as well as many people out there, had a child born into this world with hydrocephalus meningitis.
Oh yeah, your water-headed babies. I forgot about that. Is that really what made you turn into a Christian? God must have done it, otherwise it's your defunct fucking sperm? Because it was your defunct fucking sperm, homie.
The doctors told me she wasn't going to make it. When you're a father and you have run out of ideas and thoughts and you are left completely helpless to do anything, that you have literally no power, no magic, nothing that can save your child, and the progression of science can do nothing. When a doctor looks you right in the eye and tells your wife as well as you that your child is not going to make it, you're damn near willing to do about anything.
You do realize that doctors regularly tell people to prepare for the worst when it's possible to prepare for the worst, and just say that it's likely your child won't make it. I know many quote-unquote miracle babies that have survived with some pretty severe conditions. There's currently one child that actually has nothing but a brainstem that's still alive. What's your point? It's not a miracle, that's a curse, you fool.
Anything. So I prayed, and I said, God, if there is a God out there listening, can you please have my child survive? Well, my child ended up surviving. The next thing I found myself doing was, I was in a problem a while back where I prayed out to God to get some kind of help, because me and my wife and children were going to find ourselves out on the street. You probably remember that and recall that.
Of course we do. Isn't that when you set up that semi-flagrant GoFundMe account? You're a sick man, Brett. You're sick because it should be clear to you that people gave you that money. Using God as the appeal just make sure you get more money. Even I know that.
Well, there were a couple non-believers out there that helped. I'm sure you know who. And God believers from a church who actually helped out. And we ended up getting a place.
So, like I said, what you're saying is human charity is what helped you, not God. He didn't send Gabriel down to save you, did he?
Even then, though, I wasn't completely ready to come over to theism, even though I had had God in my mind and heart for quite a while. You'll probably notice I started to calm down and chill. I went from being extremely anti-theist to from being a little nasty to more relaxed as time went by.
Well, I think I've been pretty relaxed through all this because you're just sitting here spouting nonsense and I'm refuting it with very, very simple facts. I mean, one case of confirmation bias and one case of appealing to God to get more charity money by including a church isn't really miraculous, Brett.
I ended up running into an atheist out there by the name of William Cardinal, and I'll get into that in a bit. I do want to finish up on what happened with the daughter thing. I was told that later on in her life she would end up being slow, that she would end up being messed up. Even though she survived, that she would probably never function as what we would consider normal in society. Scared the hell out of me, because it's hard enough for a regular kid to be able to make it in this cold, cruel-ass, nasty, disgusting, vile world. But a child that's got problems, well, you can imagine how scary that can be for a father. So again, I did it. I prayed out. I said, God, if you're there, if something is listening, please make it to where my child is okay. My child still has a shunt in her head, but the teachers see her as an A student. She's only got one single B in all of her grades. She's doing great. She's loved by all of her school. She's got a lot of little friends and all that. And she's extremely intelligent beyond belief.
Well, lucky for us, your reporting's 100% guaranteed to be accurate. Parents don't overfavor their own children, and teachers and students don't tend to allow the kid with the shunt in its head to, function in society like a normal person as well as humanly possible. I worked in special education. That's pretty standard issue shit, Brett.
I made a promise that if I became a believer, that if God took care of this for me, that I would get rid of my atheist videos and all that. Unfortunately, there are still channels out on Daily Motion where I don't remember the password, or I would have been more than happy to go in there and just delete the hell out of all of them. I've deleted countless DVDs with my videos on them whenever I was a non-believer.
You went back and deleted your own DVDs? Why are you religious types so symbolic about stuff like that? I mean, it's the same kind of thinking that made people chip the noses off of ancient Roman fucking statues and carve shitty crosses into the foreheads. It's that same kind of thinking that's making Afghani Islamic people blow up ancient artifacts because they're not Islamic artifacts. You are still the problem, Brett.
Because I'm keeping my promise, just as I had stated. Another thing that screwed me up and messed me up inside was a while back, I was talking to an atheist.
Again, we're just going to shuttle right on through this because he goes into a personal story about a person he knew that committed suicide, that he had tried to help them with all the logic and reason that atheism had to bear, and now that he has found God, he hopes to never experience trying to talk someone down from suicide without using God or something. I mean, he's such an ass backwards fool, so I just decided to skip it because it's just raw emotional appeal nonsense. I know it's so hard, Brett. Just try and get through the reading portion.
Do I believe in ghosts and aliens? I believe that it's possible that there could be ghosts. I believe that it's possible that aliens could exist. According to science, there's literally over 1 billion planets that exist in 200 billion light years of space. So I wouldn't be surprised, and biblically, ghosts do exist. You can check out Daniel chapter 5, verse 5.
Well, that was a set of mental gymnastics I never thought I'd witness. Did you just use science to explain why you believe in aliens and the Bible to explain why you believe in ghosts? I mean, you're just an ideal sampler, aren't you? You don't actually believe anything. You just sample things and put them together like random puzzle pieces until you have a picture that suits your cause. Holy crap, Brett, that's disturbing.
Most Christians, they'll believe that if you see a demon or a ghost, then you've seen the aspiration of a demon or an angelic manifestation. They don't believe that if you see like a dead family member or friend that you've really seen them. You've seen a demon who's trying to manipulate you or an angel trying to bring a message. I don't know.
Wow, you don't know, but you're certainly willing to entertain that idea too, huh? I mean, you had biblical proof for ghosts a minute ago, but now I guess sometimes those ghosts could be angels or demons, or what, Brett?
Okay, so let's go on to the next stuff. Okay, what made you convert to Christianity specifically? I already answered that with Tommy. I have the question, so now that you are a Christian, which branch of Christianity do you identify as being a member of, if any? Also, if it is none, which one do you most closely identify with? Well, if you ask G-Man or a lot of Christians on YouTube who are in his crew and group, then you probably have heard that according to them I'm a fake Christian. I guess it's up to you who you're going to believe on that, right? Yeah, okay. I identify myself as a tabernacle, which is what Jesus was. He was a man who walked around and brought the church to people. A church is our temple, not made of wood or stone. Pure Carbon says, let's see, the next question is, well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of laughs. You're hilarious, Brad. Well, thank you. I don't feel hilarious right now, to be honest with you. Okay, so apparently Travis wants to answer some of my questions too. That's okay. So it's very obvious how you feel about atheists. I hope that when you say it's obvious how I feel about atheists, you realize that I care about non-believers very much, but I have this weird thought in my head that some of you out there are arrogant, some of you are not willing to be humble, some of you are not willing to admit that you don't know everything. And sometimes I feel like in order to get you to listen, I've got to knock you off your pedestal.
Well, luckily I don't know any believers like yourself who are so arrogant and think they have all the answers because they found them in a book. And luckily we haven't spent the last 200 years knocking the priesthood and priests and believers off their pedestals of thinking that they were right, Brett. You've simply reversed what we've been doing for 2 centuries, you moron.
I don't wish to. I don't wish to harm any of you or hurt you. I just want to make it to where you'll at least be open-minded enough to listen and realize that we don't know everything.
Every atheist I know is willing to admit they don't know everything. It's you guys who are willing to say that the things we don't know are thusly filled in by Sandman mythology. Do you not see the problem with that? You're not even willing to look for actual answers or reasonable answers. You just say, God done did it. That's how you guys solved science. God done did it.
But that doesn't mean that I'm stating that if you don't know everything, then you must... That's like God of the gaps or something. I'm just asking that if you're going to be a real skeptic, then be willing to question your own self as well as your own thinking, not just everybody else. Because even if you make a Christian or a Muslim or Jew look foolish, this in no way validates your position either.
That's not the point. The point of arguing with people like you is to prove that your belief systems are wrong. You need to actually be a skeptic like you're claiming to be, instead of just saying that being skeptical means being willing to accept the Bible or whatever religious institution that person has. That's not skeptical. That's stupid.
So, but how about other religions that share similarities with Christianity, like Islam? I believe that Islam is a part of the Abrahamic faith. I believe that Muslims come from Abraham, which is in the Bible, as well as in the Quran and Judaism. I believe that Jews, Christians, and Muslims worship the same God.
Then you do me a favor, Brett. You go over there and pay them the Jesus, because they don't feel the same way about you.
And a lot of Christians are going to disagree with me on that, but I don't give a damn, because that's the truth.
Okay, that's from someone who says they're not arrogant. Anyway, that's as much Brett Keane as I can take. I had intended to do the vast majority of this video. There's like 3 minutes left. I I just can't face it, guys. I'm sorry. I've still got the sinking of the Pacific Ocean liner coming up tonight. I am again sorry for being late, and I will make an attempt to be on time in the future. Again, I mean, come on, give me a break, guys. I caught a strike. What do you want from me? Um, it's been fun. I'm gonna have more of these coming out. And don't worry, I'm not done fucking with feminism. It's just I got bored with it, and frankly speaking, it's waiting for something interesting to come up as opposed to some of the things like the one that got taken down, which were literally the same file format. I mean, it could be a script that's being handed out at high schools or colleges to teach young girls and young women how to talk in feminist terms. The same talking points over and over and over again. So until another event or I find a feminist that's actually off the chain, like some of the intersectional ones, or I find a feminist willing to say out loud that we should castrate men until they're only 10% of the population, I'm just going to hit on it back and forth when I'm bored. Until then, I hope you guys enjoy. I'll see the regular crew on Monday, and I will see the Pacific Ocean liner crew tonight. Thanks for watching.